I certainly made mistakes, and I take responsibility. I don't think delving into the particulars at this point is constructive, but yes, I caused pain, and I feel terrible about that.
After years of hushed whispers and intense speculation about one of the world's most high-profile divorces, Melinda French Gates has finally spoken out. In recent interviews and in her new memoir, she reveals shocking truths about betrayal and broken trust that challenge everything we thought we knew about her 27-year marriage to Bill Gates. The public facade crumbles. For nearly 3 decades, Bill and Melinda Gates represented the pinnacle of power couple success. Their joint philanthropic efforts through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation positioned them as global changemakers, tackling everything from disease eradication to educational reform. They were photographed at glittering galas, delivering keynote speeches at international conferences, and were celebrated as a model of how extreme wealth could be channeled for global good. But beneath their carefully crafted public image, a darker reality was festering. During her appearance on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert in April 2025, Melinda delivered a bombshell that cut straight to the heart of their split. Her words were measured but devastating. She explained that to have a trusted relationship, which is what she wanted in marriage, both partners have to be honest with one another. Her next words revealed the core issue that destroyed their union. Quote, "And if you can't have intimacy and you can't have trust. So in the end, I had to go." This admission represents a seismic shift from the carefully neutral language of their original divorce announcement. No longer hiding behind diplomatic phrases about irreconcilable differences, Melinda was laying bare the fundamental breakdown that made their marriage unsustainable. The emphasis on honesty, intimacy, and trust painted a picture of a relationship where these essential elements had been systematically eroded. The unraveling, as Melinda reveals in her new memoir The Next Day, began long before the public knew anything was amiss. By the end of 2019, she was experiencing recurring nightmares that served as her subconscious mind's desperate attempts to alert her to the danger she was in. She writes about dreams of a beautiful house collapsing around her, a metaphor that was, as she admits with dark humor, being a bit obvious. Night after night, she'd wake up in a panic, her body responding to truths her conscious mind wasn't yet ready to fully acknowledge. The timing of these nightmares was no coincidence. Fall 2019 marked a turning point when deeply disturbing revelations began to surface publicly. Reports about Bill's meetings with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein had emerged, creating a storm of controversy that Melinda found impossible to ignore.
It's not one thing, it was many things. But I did not like that he'd had meetings with Jeffrey Epstein. He was evil personified. I had nightmares about it afterwards.
While Bill has since called these meetings a mistake and claimed he was merely seeking charitable support for his philanthropic endeavors, the damage to their relationship was profound and irreversible. Melinda's reference to these reports as deeply disturbing speaks volumes about her state of mind during this period. Here was a woman who had built her life and identity around a shared mission of improving the world, suddenly confronted with her husband's association with one of the most reviled figures in recent history. Behind closed doors, a year of secret separation. What the world didn't know was that the Gates' divorce announcement in May 2021 came after more than a year of secret separation. This revelation transforms our understanding of their final chapter together, revealing a couple desperately trying to maintain appearances while their private world crumbled. The image of Bill and Melinda continuing to appear together at foundation events, smiling for cameras, and discussing their charitable work takes on a tragic quality when we understand the reality behind those moments. The breaking point came during a February 2020 trip to New Mexico. Melinda had originally planned to go alone, seeking solitude to process her deteriorating mental state and the panic attacks that had become her unwelcome companions. But in what she would later recognize as a final attempt to salvage something, she invited Bill to join her. The universe seemed to be sending signals. In a twist of cosmic irony, the rental property they stayed in was available because its owners had recently divorced. This detail, which might have been merely uncomfortable under other circumstances, seemed to crystallize everything for Melinda. During that trip, they tried to maintain the fiction that this was like any other vacation. They went through the motions of a couple enjoying time together, but the weight of unspoken truths hung heavy between them. On the last night, in what she describes as one of the scariest conversations she'd ever had, Melinda finally voiced what her nightmares had been telling her. she wanted to start living separately. The conversation reveals the complex dynamics of their relationship, even in its death throes. Bill's reaction was sad and upset, but also understanding and respectful. This wasn't an explosive confrontation filled with accusations and recriminations. Instead, it was a quiet acknowledgement that something fundamental had broken. Melinda's plan was pragmatic. She would stay in their home with their youngest daughter Phoebe, who was still a senior in high school, while Bill would live elsewhere. This began a surreal period where they continued to work together at their foundation, making joint public appearances while concealing the truth of their separation. Melinda writes about the awkwardness of these events, where they had to project unity and shared purpose while knowing their marriage was effectively over. With the exception of a few trusted individuals, no one knew the truth. They were performing an elaborate charade for the world, all while navigating the emotional minefield of a relationship in its final stages. The breaking point. In perhaps her most revealing admission, Melinda writes in her memoir that Bill has publicly acknowledged that he wasn't always faithful. This statement, delivered with remarkable restraint, given its explosive content, represents the first time she has directly addressed the infidelity that many have long suspected played a role in their split. The use of the phrase "wasn't always faithful" suggests a pattern rather than an isolated incident. The weight of these betrayals becomes more clear when considering the broader context. Court documents and investigative reports revealed that Microsoft's board had investigated Bill in 2019 following an employee's claims of a prior sexual relationship. This investigation, occurring nearly 2 decades after the alleged affair, brought past indiscretions crashing into the present. When asked about this in a CBS Mornings interview with Gayle King, Melinda's response was telling, quote, "Well, I certainly believe in forgiveness, so I thought we had worked through some of that. This wasn't a marriage destroyed by a single act of infidelity, but rather one that had weathered multiple storms, with Melinda repeatedly choosing forgiveness and attempting to rebuild trust." Melinda's nightmares evolved during this period, becoming more violent and specific. She writes about visions of her family on the edge of a cliff, with her plummeting into the void while Bill and their children remained above. The symbolism is stark. She was falling away from the life she had known, recognizing that her path was diverging from theirs in a fundamental way. The summer of 2020 brought the final reckoning as Melinda told Bill she wanted a divorce. The complexity of ending a 27-year marriage, with its shared history, 3 children, and intertwined professional lives, meant this couldn't be a clean break. Even in ending, there were moments of connection, acknowledgments of what they had built together, alongside recognition that it could no longer continue. The real reason revealed. So what was the real reason Melinda French Gates divorced Bill Gates? Her recent revelations paint a crystal clear picture. It wasn't one catastrophic event, but rather a pattern of dishonesty and betrayal that eroded the foundation of trust their marriage was built upon. The accumulation of lies, infidelities, and broken promises created a toxic environment where genuine intimacy became impossible. In her People magazine interview, when asked directly about responding to betrayals in her marriage, Melinda took a long pause before answering, quote, "You have to stay true to yourself always, right?" This simple statement encapsulates her journey from a woman whose inner voice had faded in the decade or so before her marriage fell apart to someone who found the strength to prioritize her own well-being. The admission that her inner voice had faded is particularly poignant. It suggests years of compromising, of pushing down her own needs.
I started on this journey of healing, and I feel like I'm starting to get to the other side. And I do feel like I'm turning a page in the chapter now. I mean, it's 2022, and I'm actually really excited about what's to come in life ahead for me.
Now it's time to hear from you. What does it take to walk away from one of the world's most powerful men? Let us know in the comments section below.